trying to snap a 3-game losing skid, but we're always on a hot streak.
That we are, Aiden. Sports Scene starts now. Welcome back to this episode of Sports Scene. I'm Julia Adams.
And I'm Aiden Berg.
Before jumping into basketball news, USC football added a new coach to its staff. Cornerback coach Dante Williams out of the University of Oregon.
Yeah, Williams will also add the role of passing game coordinator to his coaching duties. He announced the reason for the move on Twitter, saying, quote, "This was extremely hard to write and even harder decision to make. But due to my father's aging and failing health, I'm lucky Coach Helton, Coach Orlando, and Mr. Bone are giving me an opportunity to come home and make a decision where I can put my immediate family first and become head of my household. With that all being said, it's time to take back the West. Fight on."
In his 2 seasons with the Ducks, Williams helped Oregon move from 89th nationally and 8th in the Pac-12 in pass defense in 2017 to 53rd and 2nd this season.
And Oregon's pass efficiency improved from 48th to 14th in that same span, so you know he knows what he's doing.
But moving on to basketball news, USC Basketball will have a chance to avenge an embarrassing loss to Washington earlier this season when the teams face off at the Galen Center tomorrow night. But first, the Trojans need to work on cleaning their mistakes.
Yes, USC lost both legs of its Arizona road trip over the weekend. That included a heartbreaker in which Arizona State guard Remy Martin rattled in a game winner with 19 seconds to play. The loss made 3 straight defeats for the Trojans and drops them to 5th in the Pac-12. Head coach Andy Enfield spoke Sunday about what the team needs to do to improve.
It's a team. We win and lose a team. And I take the blame for the losses. I could have done a few things differently tonight, and so we win and lose together. We're a good team, but we have inconsistencies in some of the things we do, like turning the ball over, like shooting, open shots. There's certain things we've done this year that make us inconsistent offensively and defensively, but we're still a good team.
The Huskies' ability to shut down USC's offense led to a Washington blowout win in January. The Trojans put up a season-low field goal percentage of 20%, going 13 for 64 from the field. Freshman forward Onyeka Okongwu led the team with 10 points in that matchup, although it was well below his season average.
But since the team's last meeting, Washington has experienced its fair share of struggles. Most notably, the Huskies lost sophomore guard Quade Green, who was named ineligible shortly after the teams played in January. Green scored 14 points and led the Huskies with 5 assists in the win over USC.
But the biggest issue for SC this season is turnovers. The Trojans have allowed 360 total turnovers and averaged 16 per game. Against ASU, SC allowed 24 turnovers, on which ASU scored 17 points. SC needs to play a cleaner game in order to beat the Huskies on Thursday night.
The Trojans need to make these adjustments so they can avoid falling further in the Pac-12 standings.
To talk more basketball, our resident hoops experts, Reagan Griffin Jr. and Tyler Myerly, are joining us at the desk. Thank you guys for joining us here.
Of course.
So starting us off with a prediction question, starting it strong, do you think USC can defeat Washington tomorrow night at the Galen Center?
Of course. Washington hasn't proven to be a great team. They got us on the first go-around, but since then they've dropped 8 of their last 9. So clearly they're not as good of a team as the Trojans faced the first go-around. So I think definitely they'll get them.
And they have to. So yes, they will, but they don't have another choice. They should have beat ASU on the road, and they didn't. Washington sits at 2-8 in the conference. Right now, USC sits at 6-5. That's not looking too hot. They should be higher up in the Pac-12 standings. But like Reagan said, they're a much better team than when they played Washington the first time around, and they've improved their scoring. Not by much, but I mean, they have.
Yeah, and I think the 2 things that will really decide this game is 1, the fact that it's played at home where USC is a much better team, and then 2, like we said, Quade Green being out. He was really good in that first game. He was all over those highlights that we just played. So those are the 2 things that I think will lead to a USC victory.
And SC has some big-name guys on their team. Who do you guys think will need to step up down the stretch if the Trojans are to finish strong this season?
Look, we know it's a young team. Onyeka, Isaiah Mobley, Ethan Anderson. There's a lot of youth on this team, so they need a veteran who's capable of taking the reins and leading this team emotionally and on and off the court, making sure that things steer in the right direction. And I think that's Jonah Matthews. He's been here, for 4 years. He has 1,000 points. He's been there and done that, and that's the type of guy that the team needs to lead them.
And I think Jonah Matthews has been doing a great job. The last couple games, he has been consistent. He has been probably one of the most consistent things for that team. I'm going to go and say that you can't say freshmen have no responsibility in this part. I'm going Big O. Big O needs to step up, and then obviously the other big in Nick. You know, when you look at the difference, Nick is averaging 9.5 points per game versus O's 15.1 points per game. But people have high expectations for Onyeka, and so we're not just going to let him lag off when we're watching USC play these games. You know, I think he can be a little bit more consistent, and then I also think, like you said, limiting those turnovers, that's going to be a big help down the stretch.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with you on both of the bigs, but I key in on Nick as a guy who really needs to do a lot and sacrifice to kind of make this team better, because it's been an issue with spacing, having him and Big O down there kind of clogging up the lane. But Nick is a senior. He's been there a long time. He's been playing college basketball. So I kind of look to him to kind of make that dynamic work between the two.
To your point, less is more sometimes, right? Less is more.
And bold question here, guys. Do you think USC has the chance to make it to an NCAA tournament? Obviously, hot take here, so let's hear what you guys have.
There's always a chance. There's always a chance, especially with the way this team started the season. Granted, it's been a tough go of it as of late, but they still have, made enough of their a name for themselves over the course of the season that I think teams, or the people who are choosing the March Madness teams, they're still going to be looking to USC. And if they improve upon what they've done over the course of the rest of the season, of course there's a chance.
Reagan's so optimistic about this team.
I love it.
I think the talent's there. I don't think this is their year yet, though. I know everybody was excited. The ultimate thing is they're being overshadowed by number 16 Colorado right now, number 17 Oregon. Those two teams have a much better chance at making it into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of similar to you. I'm a little more skeptical about their chances. They simply don't really have the resume of a tournament team to me. Not a lot of teams lose 3 straight games late in the season. Most teams that make the tournament are kind of trending upward instead of what we're seeing from USC, which is going downward. So I'm a little skeptical about their chances.
And that's why the Pac-12 tournament is going to be extremely key for what happens for the future of this team. If they go out there and prove that they can hang with the big guys in the Colorados and the Arizonas, that'll make enough of a statement, I think, to put them in the tournament.
Well, thanks for your input, guys. We'll see how USC basketball fares on Thursday night against the Huskies. But now let's toss it over to Ava with some lacrosse news.
The defending Pac-12 women's lacrosse champions started their season strong last Saturday. The 17th ranked Trojans represented the growing West Coast lacrosse scene with a defeat against Hofstra. Now, the Trojans will take on number 8 Michigan this Saturday at home. The Wolverines are 1-0 on the season as well. Michigan won 12 of its 19 draw controls in its victory. On the other hand, the Trojans won only 6 in their game. However, the USC defense put on a strong performance. They forced 7 caused turnovers and only gave up 5 free position shots. Yet Michigan still tops USC in caused turnovers. The Wolverines forced 9, but they also gave up 14 free position shots. If Michigan gives up a high number of free position shots again, Emily Conciotti must step up for the Trojans. Conciotti was 2 for 2 on the hash marks against Hofstra. One of these shots was the game winner with 2 minutes left in the game. On the day, Conciotti had 3 goals and 1 assist. Molly Garrett had a productive day for Michigan. Garrett had 2 goals and 4 draw controls. The Trojans must put a body on Garrett to stop her positive impact on the Wolverine attack. Against Hofstra, USC played solid team defense. They held Hofstra to only 1 goal in the first 23 minutes of the game, but they allowed Hofstra to creep back into the game. The Trojans allowed 2 goals within the first 3 minutes of the second half. Still, USC's defense kept composure. They finished with only 2 yellow cards and gave up only 5 free positions. USC must focus on 3 key aspects to defeat Michigan. First, they must win draw controls. Michigan has proven they can score fast off of the draw. They scored 4 goals in 4 minutes in their first game. Next, the Trojans must convert on their free position shots. If Michigan gives up a high number like 14 again, USC must be able to score. Aside from Conciotti, the Trojans were 0 for 4 on the hash marks. Lastly, the Trojans must limit their turnovers. They had 16 against Hofstra. The Trojans will have the favor of playing in front of a home crowd this Saturday. They take on Michigan at noon. Earlier today, our own Julia Adams sat down with Kelsey McIntosh to talk about her expectations for the season.
Julia Adams here, joined by Kelsey McIntosh from the top 3 ranked women's water polo team. Kelsey, thank you so much for being here today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
So the women's water polo team here is like a dynasty. 6 national championships, you've been on one of those teams. What would you say is the secret to your guys' success?
I think our culture. Our culture as a team really stresses hard work and family. I mean, we go to USC, so that family is already like integrated, but we work really hard. Like, we're one unit, like we work together in everything, and any obstacle that comes up, like we face it as a team. So anything that we go through, like we rely on each other, and I think that really has shown over the years and has attributed to our success.
And you guys got your first loss of the season to UCLA at the Triton Invitational Tournament. How do you kind of recover after a loss like that to the crosstown rival?
I mean, it's always hard to lose to the Bruins. I mean, any game we play them, we want to win. Regardless of if we're 1, we're 2, we're 10, it doesn't matter. So that was hard, but recovering after it is the easy part, in that it allows us, like, we have a little saying on our team is like, you either win or you learn. So I think it's really allowed us to see the things that we have to improve on, because at the end of the day, we want to beat them in May. We want to win the national championship. So if we can learn what we need to improve on now, then we have to do that.
And you've been part of a national championship team. Do you think the team that you're on right now has what it takes to win?
I think so. Like, that year, my sophomore year, we had amazing chemistry. Like, everybody was like best friend. Like, I know that's like cliche or whatever, but like we really had a super close team. And that just made practices and hard days that much better, because we could rely on each other and lean on each other when we were down. And this team has the same. Pinta, Casey, and Connor do a great job, and they are part of that chemistry as well. And I think we have a really strong unit of girls that really want to win.
And water polo is a really hard sport. I always say I played for a second in middle school. I think I lasted about 2 weeks, and I remember I got punched in the nose, and I was like, this sport is not for me. So I'm just wondering, why did you choose water polo in the first place?
I grew up on the pool deck. My mom was a swimmer and a swim coach. So I was always on the pool deck. I swam competitively. Like, when I started when I was 5, I started swimming competitively. And my older sister, who's 3.5 years older than me, got to play water polo. So I finally got my mom to say yes, and I started playing when I was 6. So I was just on the pool deck all the time, and we had a good swimming program, and then that swim coach turned it into a water polo program as well. So it just kind of was easy. You did swim and then you played water polo. And at some point I was just I'm ready to play water polo. I'm done with this swimming thing. So yeah, it's a tough sport, but it's an awesome sport too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here,
Of
Kelsey.
course.
We really
Thank you for having
appreciate
me.
you for coming in. But be sure to watch Kelsey and the rest of the women's water polo team as they continue on through the rest of their season.
Monday was a sad day in college baseball as the memorial for John Altobelli, his wife, and daughter was held at Angel Stadium. USC pitcher Gus Copel had a special connection to Altobelli. He played 2 years under Altobelli at Orange Coast College, and Copel says he will never forget the impact Altobelli had on both his sport and life.
There were multiple times for me, at least, when I didn't have a good outing, and I figured, that I might not get the chance to pitch right away again for a while. And Coach Alto just consistently threw me back out there, put me in the fire, and he just really believed in me. I think that's a really big thing.
With that being said, the Trojans open the season this Friday with a 3-game series against Western Michigan. The Trojans are hoping for a better season as USC finished 6th in the Pac-12 with a 25-29-1 record last season, missing the playoffs. In terms of key players, Trojan fans should keep an eye out for senior Brady Shockey, who is set to power the Trojan offense. Shockey, a senior, was one of the Trojans' more reliable hitters, notching a solid .295 average with 14 RBIs. USC struggled on the mound last season, but with another year under his belt, sophomore Kyle Hurt looks to make a big impact. A right-handed pitcher, he ranked number 9 in the Pac-12 in strikeouts last season with 81. The biggest thing to watch out for this season is head coach Jason Gill. The Trojans are under new leadership with Gill. The coaching change is certainly welcome after several seasons of missed expectations under former coach Dan Hubbs. Gill comes from LMU, and in 11 years there, posted an impressive win percentage of .530. USC's series against Western Michigan is set to kick off at Dado Field at 6 p.m. this Friday. Aiden, Julia, over to you.
Former USC Trojan and current San Antonio Spurs guard DeMar DeRozan will have his jersey retired at halftime of tomorrow night's game. Aiden, maybe the Trojans can ask DeRozan how to win the Pac-12 tournament as such a low seed, right?
Yeah, definitely. The Trojans could definitely benefit from DeRozan's advice, given that DeRozan's lead for the Trojans went to the 2009 NCAA tournament as a 10th seed. Also in his one season in Cardinal and Gold, DeRozan earned Pac-12 tournament MVP honors while leading the program to its first and only Pac-12 championship.
Yeah, Eden, SC definitely needs some DeRozan energy to turn around their season. But I think I'll definitely go to the game tomorrow for the free cool shirts. Did you see them?
Yes, I saw the design and they are looking pretty sweet. So if you're going to the game, make sure you get there early. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Sports Scene. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Annenberg Media Sports. I'm Aiden Berg.
And I'm Julia Adams. We will see you next time.